Are you ready for holidays? I am. So, this is my last show for the year, I would guess. And welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Hello, Sharon. Sharon, you're first. Thank you very much. And just let me know if I'm audible and everything is working so we can proceed with this last show of the year. Hello, Dean. How are you? And we do have a lag, of course. YouTube does that. So it will take maybe 10 seconds or something for me to see what's in the chat. Benoit, hello. Welcome to our little company here. So let's see a confirmation. No one is saying that I'm not audible, but I do want to make sure I'm not talking in the void. Waiting for that one message. Thank you very much, Jay. And Jay wins the feedback of the year since it's the last show. So again, welcome everyone. We're going to go through some chat questions today and some from the spreadsheet. Although I have to admit, because I always admit my shortcomings and mistakes, that's why I'm nearly a perfect human being, that I didn't have much time to go through everything. So I try to pick a few and I'm going to try and do my best. I'm going to focus a bit on the chat and make it a bit more interactive. Hello, Dances for Peas. Or as I say in England, dances for peas. And let me do the housekeeping very quickly, and then I'm going to get back to the chat and everything else. I think this is my screen. Excellent. So this is the link you should use for the this page here, this little hub page, which I'm going to post in the comments. I'm just going to paste it now. It's going to appear shortly. And just click there and you will get access to the Maxon events page, which is this one over here, where you can see all the great stuff we're doing. You will get links to the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel, where these are presented live and recorded. The Maxon Training Team is the only place where you can find these live shows recorded with the comments and timestamps kindly provided by our very good friend and colleague and mentor, Dr. Sassy. Of course, don't miss out on all the amazing content we have on the Maxon YouTube channel. And the typical reminder, the bi-weekly reminder that you need to go and learn how to use ZBrush if you have any artistic inclination, now available on the iPad. And last but not least, to learn all our amazing tools, please go to Cineversity, cineversity.maxon.net or cineversity.com, which will redirect you over here. And go watch Ellie's latest series, which is fantastic. And of course, don't forget to watch VFX and Chill, because it's not only entertaining, but it's fun. Okie dokie. So a bit of a few things I'd like you to do. Let me put my face on this. There we go. If you do ask a question, please preface it with the word question. I know that many people don't because you're in a rush to ask a question or there was a delay. Try and do that. It will just allow me to not miss questions and I don't have to squint to see, oh, is that a question or is that some compliment? Excellent. And you know where you can find me on the socials, on Twixer. Someone asked me the other day, what is Twixer? Well, it's Twitter, X. So I just put those things together to cover the whole thing in one word. So this is my handle. You can DM me. You don't have to be polite, but ask meaningful questions. By the way, all questions I've been asked, other than the spam bots, are very meaningful. So thank you for that. You're the salt and pepper of my life. So that's the wrong button I pressed. Excellent. Just for anyone that misses the replay of the chat, this is the link you should go to in order to get to this page here. Bring the page and then bring it up. There we go. So that is the link. So take a screen grab and use it. At the end of the show, we always present a QR code as well. So let me pull this down. And there was a question about some Maxon Move stuff. Oh, Mate, how are you? Welcome to our company here. So let yourselves make yourselves known in the chat so we can say hi. And let me get rid of that. And let's deal with this. I mean, it's in front of me until you prepare your own questions. And the question is about Maxon moves here. And I think it's a very long paragraph. How to, so let me grab this text. This is the prep I didn't do. Usually I cut and paste certain snippets. So forgive me for my laziness. So I'm going to paste it here and see if it all fits. And here's the banner. And I'm going to present the banner now. So how do I capture the head and neck movement so that the character is moving naturally and so forth if I have a tutorial? I do not remember what tutorials I've done about Maxon moves. But in any case, here's what I'd like to show you. So the Maxon moves object that contains all the objects and all the available data and all that. If you just select the face mesh, what it generates, go to the coordinates, you will see that as the head is moving, the rotation and the position of the head is recorded on this object. Now, let me see what happens if I make this editable, right? Is this going to do anything? It doesn't. So it's lost the data here. And let's see how else we can expose that data, because you can always drive it using XPresso, driver driven, and leave this running in the background and drive your own character. I do that in most of my rigs. I want the original here, and then I drive it. So the data is here. And if you're wondering how to do the driver driven, let me show you. So let's get rid of that sphere. Sorry about that. This is what comes in. So let's assume that I want a sphere. This sphere. This is my new head. There we go. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to hide the Maxon moves object. And my objective is to take this sphere and make it move like my head did, right? Rotations and positions. Let's see if this is going to work. I haven't tried a constraint. You know something? Why not? Let's try constraint. I've actually never tried this. So right click on your object, go to the rigging tag, go to constraint, put on the transform, which is position, scale, and rotation, and just drag this object in here. And let's see if this is going to change anything. There you go. That's it. So you can transfer the rotation and the bobbing of the head just by adding a constraint tag in transform mode. Now, let's assume that you don't want this, and you definitely want, because you want to play with the values and all that, you do want to do it using XPresso. Now, the easy way is you find the parameter you want to animate. So in this particular case, it's the X, Y, Z, or the position itself. Now, one little secret here, and hopefully you can see it. I haven't figured out how to zoom in and out on my PC, although I have been trying for years, and there's some tools and shortcuts and all that. I don't know. I don't like it. But anyway, if you click on each individual one of these, X, Y, and Z, you can copy and paste or do something to that value. But if you click on the P, it selects all three of these. So select the P. So everything now is orange. Right click and say, you go to expressions and you set driver. So this is the object that's going to drive the other object. So this is the driver. It says set driver. This copies not any value, but the link to this property. And then you go to your other object. You go back here to the same thing. Right click an expression. You say set driven absolute. And if you open this here in XPresso, it creates this little link where it takes the data from the position of whatever object. You can see the object is linked here, face mesh locked, and it outputs that in the sphere. So this should make the sphere move. It's not rotating anymore. And you can do the same thing with the rotation. You can go and do a set driver over here with the R and set driven, or you can do it manually. So let me show you how to do it manually. Just go to the face mesh. You can either look for your coordinates here, global rotations, local rotation, transforms. I'm panicking. Don't panic. Grab the P and drag it in the output. So now you have the rotation. Oh, is it the P? Yeah, it should be the P. Why ain't you coming here? Oh, I dragged the position again. My bad. Rotation. Drag the rotation here. It's going to appear as rotation. Control or Command on the Mac, double click to just maximize this so you don't miss anything. Create another range mapper, and you can make a copy using drag copy. And we need to do the same thing here. Get the rotation. So go to your sphere, get your rotation and put it in the input of this. Control double click. Now you should have this correlation of these rotations here. It's going to take the values and pipe them through. Now you would ask me, well, why are we using the range mapper, right? Well, you could directly connect them. The range mapper is a convenience. What if I want the head movement to be a bit more exaggerated? The range mapper takes certain values and maps them to other values. So it creates an association graph. And what this says is the lowest position, which is a vector, it's got three components, x, y, and z, right? We know that, x, y, and z. So this is one vector 3, as we call it, and this is another vector 3. Shortened, they just call them vectors. So what happens is it says, well, when the values are 0, the input is 0, then the output is 0 as well. And when the input is 100, the output is 100. So the correlation is linear. Whatever comes in goes out. If you want this movement to be double, then you need to say for 0 to 100 range, I want to export 0 to 200. So 0 becomes 0, 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, and so forth. So it doubles the value. So if I make this 200, 200, and 200, you'll see the movement is going to be double. Maybe you want to increase this on the Y. So now we're going to see the Y is going to be exaggerated, right? Don't stress your necks. Neck injuries are just like concussions are very bad for you. So that's why we add this. Otherwise, we can just connect this directly and it's going to have a one-to-one correlation. But this is a very handy way. And the other good thing is that you can add splines, so the mapping is not linear. You can make it go up and down. So it has a lot of interesting stuff you can use. So let's go here and reset. And I'm going to go. So now it takes anything that's happening here and it maps it based on that spline. So 100, 100, and 100. And when it goes beyond, let's say 50, it's going to go downwards. When it goes above 50, and so forth. So this is the way you would do it, and this is the way you would add the extra control. So driver driven, or you can even create these XPresso nodes by yourself. You just right click, go programming tag, you add an XPresso node, you drag your object in here, the input, you add the output, then you go and find the properties, so you drag them from here and you do exactly the same thing. And if you want to find the range mapper, you click here, it's somewhere in here, and you type range, and here's a range mapper, and you link things up, and there you go. So in a nutshell, that's how you can do that. And we have the two heads moving in, well, relative same positions now. Everything is garbled up here, but that will be the way you would do that. Excellent. Let me turn this off and let's close this. Oh, by the way, you know who this is, right? Look at this handsome chap here without teeth, without a head. Imagine him with hair. Maybe I'm going to do it one day. Grow my own digital hair and superimpose them on the screen. Right? Imagine if you big. I used to have curly hair, right? By the way, right? So don't judge me. So let's read through the chat. Let's see. Burkan, you're very, very welcome. And please ask your questions. So some people have asked us this. We essentially there's some logistical problems we're trying to figure out, and until further notice, there will be no codes. So just we appreciate your patience and understanding. Let's see. Oh, this is an interesting one. Lucky Beggar. Hi, I'm new to Cinema 4D. Is there any setting to see the object dimensions in various units? First of all, let's go and bring up my screen. This is something I may or may not show. And when you want to see how large the object is from one side to the other, the general dimensions of an object, let's say this is a cube, of course. All primitives, you can see not their dimensions, but how they are made, right? A cube is simple, but a sphere has, for example, a radius. Now, let's assume you have a random thing going on here. Let's say you took this and you scaled it and you want to find out how large it is. Well, one of the things we can do is you click on this button here, which is the coordinate manager. And the coordinate manager gives you slightly different information than going to the coordinates here. It's a slightly different piece of information. And if you put the size in this little scale thing, you will see how tall or whatever this object is. So let's raise this. Now I'm putting scale in the object, but you can see the values are changing. Now, if the question relates to the units you show, yes, all you have to do is go to your Edit, Preferences, or press Control or Command E if you're on a Mac, and the preferences will pop up, and we have the units thing. And here we can choose centimeters, kilometers, meters, millimeter, miles, yards, feet, inches, so both imperial and metric. And what you will see is that the minute I change this to meters, we get the meters here, or maybe if I change it to, let's say, inches. So let's put a value, right? So this is 1.8 meters now, whereas previously it was 189 centimeters. And of course, you can put feet, yards, miles, or whatever. Additionally to that, I'm going to reset this by right-clicking and saying reset to default. You can do this with most parameters. Let's say I want to be working in centimeters, right? But my good fellow from United States comes and says, can you make me a sphere with a radius? Well, actually, I'm going to add one more layer to this. I want to make a sphere with a diameter of 24 inches. See, that's the catch. They say 24, and you're ready to write 24 here and say, no, 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 no. I want inches. All you have to do, go in here. So if you type 24 inches for the diameter, you can divide it by 2 and find the radius, because this is radius. You put after this the unit you want, so inches. So 24 divided by 2 in. You press enter, and it will do the division immediately. So that looks, is that correct? So 24 divided by 2 space inches. Why is inches, isn't it in? In. So did I do something wrong? So let me do this. What's happening here? Unless I'm just a bit, my brain is all over the place. So 24 divided by 2, the radius should be 12 inches, right? So we're going to type inches in here, the radius. And this should give us 12 times 2.54. Oh, that's interesting. So we uncovered a small inconsistency here. I need to think about that, but you could use units. Interesting. So 1 inch, 2.54 centimeters, 12 inches. Okay, now I get it. So this is what happened, right? Math, 24 divided by 2. I think what happened is that it divides 2 inches by 24. So there's something going on here with the math. So what I would say is that 24 divided by 2, that's 12, and you change this to inches. Or do 24 divided by 12 in your mind, and it's 30.48 centimeters. That's interesting. Since we're here on experimentation mode, let's put a parentheses and type 24 divided by 2, close the parentheses, and write inches. So parentheses don't work here. So that's an interesting one. Why does 24 divided by 2 in inches not evaluate the number first? So it must be something that has to do with the math. But I think the solution is to learn your multiplication tables. And 24 divided by 2 is 12 inches, and that is exactly the value you want. See, I wanted to be a bit smarter about this, and it sort of blew up in my face. But nonetheless, it is not Cinema 4D's issue. It was mine. So there you go. I'm going to submit a bug report to my brain. Oh, Jay. Okay. I'm getting some answers here. I love this. So 24, let me take my mouse away, 24 inches divided by 2. Ha! Jay, you win. I don't have any presents here. Sorry. You win appreciation by your colleagues. So there you go. That's the shorthand. 24 inches divided by 2. So it does the conversion first in the units and then continues on with any other mathematical operations. Jay, thank you so much for that. And that's what community is about, bringing things back on track. So let's see. Let me go through the chat. I would love to have my face here when I'm looking at the chat, so you can see what is he looking at. But I will forget, and you'll be looking at my face while I'm showing things on screen. So what I'm going to do, make sure, is the mini face. I wish it had a filter where when I minimize it, my voice goes higher pitch. Wouldn't that be fun? Maybe I can do something with my audio. Okay, so let's go and find everything that says question. I'm going to look at things that don't say question anyway. So let's go. I'm trying to read the name. Big beans. There you go. We have the big beans in Greece. What are they called? We call them gigantes, which means giants. A very famous Greek recipe, cooked in the oven with red sauce. You should try them. So what's the best way to blend a stone into a landscape? Okay. Unreal Engine 5 uses virtual textures to blend through material, so it doesn't look like it was just plopped onto the ground. So in render time, it's not all that difficult to do with distance, the new distance shader. You can create that transition. This would be a great question for anyone to ask Ellie, but although I haven't done it, and everyone tells me not to do experiments when I'm doing a live show, I'm going to do it. So here's my sphere right in the middle of the world. I created a landscape. So we want a blend between these two things in terms of material. I would guess. Okay. This is going to be a bit harder. The various techniques use normal blending, where you make this a bit smoother. We can do some sort of material blending, I would guess, but this is something I would like to think about to get, let's say, create an effect of fake gravel or stone that goes around here. I don't know. Let's try something. I mean, that's what we're here for, experimentation. So don't forget the new button here, which searches the Redshift materials, and let's put some rock material. But when I say rock, I need to do it with a louder voice. So let's put some rock material. There we go. Let's add it here, and let's drop it. Oh, it's downloading. Yeah, I regularly clean my cache, and some of these things just vanish. Good. Let me turn this on, and let me cross my fingers. So let's see here. Is there anything that says gravel? Okay, here we go. We have some gravel here. Let's make these bigger. Yeah, I don't know. Let's use this. It's not going to be very. Oh, I didn't. So let me do that. Gravel. I think you need to double click. Grail. You will not learn how to type properly over here. So let's get this gravel. Double click, and it's in here. Let's drag it on the landscape here. And is this, yeah, it is a Redshift material. And here's my little gravel over there. So we want, I mean, this is blending fine. So let me see what I can do with this mix over here. Maybe go to the landscape and make my texture a bit smaller. Oh, it's UV, so that's not going to work. I can do it here, 50 and 50, and it's going to update and even smaller. Let's go here and set it to, I don't know, 15 and 15. And here you get the repetitions of the tiles. Okay, now to blend this, yeah, that's going to be a bit tricky. There's definitely a way. I'm trying very hard to figure out how this could be done. I could use a distance shader. Let's go here and use a shader mixer and a distance shader. I haven't used a distance shader, by the way, at all. Distance shader and a blend, not C blend material, I would guess, material blender. I just want to find out what's going on here. Let's put the out over here. Let's put the base material. I'm going to get this one out color. So we're back to what we're doing. And let's see what this provides us with. Let's put the solo on. So you can see this creates a gradient that's based on distance as far as the other object is sort of close or far from the sphere. So if I move it up, you'll see that it only gets dark where it's touching. So maybe this can allow us to get this out color and use it in the blend color. And this will transfer. Let me turn off the solo part of, let's see, material color. Let's change the base. So let me think. This material color here for layer 1, material color. I can't see the material color. What is near far? Yeah, that's from here. Blend color and material color. I thought I should be, no, I'm going to drive it with, yeah, I need to drive it with a standard material. So let's create a reference. And reference allows you to read in another material. Let's read in the gravel and hope it's going to work. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so we're getting the mix, but I think we're getting it in the opposite way. In the opposite way, it's mixing it up here and not mixing it down here. In this case, you can do an invert color invert. Okay, and now the distance. Let's go and distance far, do 10. So I think it's sort of coming in here. Let's see it with and without the material blend. So let's go to the standard material here and solo this. And you can see that we have a slight blend. Now, I'm pretty certain that you can add some controls here. So let's, for example, after the invert, and this is a general technique, you can use a ramp to change the way the mapping operates. So I can sort of tighten the gradient. Too little space. I need a 16K monitor. Let's go here to the gradient, the ramp. And yeah, my parameters here. Come on, let's go down and let's go to the ramp. And you can sort of tighten it. You can bring this down or bring this up to make it a bit sharper. So this would be the beginning of a technique. You need to make sure that the mapping is relatively correct, because here we have UV mapping and this has a different UV configuration from this. But this could be the first step. Another thing you could do is use that same distance to create some sort of displacement to bring it up, or create an intermediate material in here. But that would be the beginning of something like this. Now, there could be more advanced techniques, and that will be a good question for a Redshift stream. Yeah, that is what I have for this question. So now let's go and check out the other questions. Let's see. Let's try this one. This says particles, and it says question. Z- uh, Zemek, is the R silent? Working on a project where there are 4 particle groups. 2 of them switch group. One uses animated force field and then transition to follow a spline. 2 of them switch group, follow a spline. And you have a second part of your question here. When caching, follow the spline group maps the color incorrectly. It worked in previous files. Yeah, if your caching and stuff like that doesn't work, that is something for tech support. It may be a bug that crept in or something like that. Make sure you have a very simplified file without any redundant elements and contact customer support for this. Because if it's a minor bug, if you said it worked, there's not much I could do right here at this show. Yeah, sorry about that. So how do I get FACS facial rigging? I do not know what FACS is. If you can elaborate a bit. Let's see. Are there any tips you have for learning and using the formula effector? The answer is yeah. I can give you some tips if you would like. Let's begin. Right, I'm just bringing my thoughts back in place, and let me remove my head from this. Gonna have a sip of caffeine. Excellent. So the formula effector. Let's talk about the formula effector. It's a very interesting one. Now, whenever you're doing various tests with MoGraph and so forth, you can always go and create a matrix. And your problem with a matrix is that everything looks so even. So I just like to emulate the matrix and create a nice little cube, 10, 10, 10, and a cloner. Make sure you set it to multi-instances. And since the width is 10, I like to put a gap of 15 and go and make 20 and 20. Right. And the good thing about this is that you can add your lines and everything is much more visible. So formula effector. Let's go. It's the same as the formula field, but as an effector. But let's go and add the formula effector. The same principles apply. So formula. Now there's a formula here, and there's this variables little thingy, which it always needs to be open. So what is this? What is this saying? Let's copy it and get some text. I'm going to put it in a motext so we can see it a bit better. I'm going to go here and paste it in here so we have it nice and big. Ooh, I added a 2 because I navigated. Let me click outside and let's go and check this out. Move it up. So when you're using formulas, the execution, you need to think of it from inside to outside. Okay. So first of all, the parentheses, it shows the encapsulation of certain math. It's stuff that is standard arithmetic and order of operations. So ID divided by count, and you go here and you see what is ID? ID is the object index for each object. And what is count? Count is the total number of objects that your cloner has. So in this case, we have 20 times 20. This should be 400 clones. Now, what is the significance of the formula ID divided by count? Well, that gives you the percentage of anything you wish from 0 to 100%, despite how many objects you have. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go here. And let's say I have 1, 2, let's make the size bigger. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 11, 9, 10, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Now, if we had 10 things, we can say that each one grows by 10%. Okay, so 0%, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100%. Actually, you need 11 of those because you have the 0 as well. But when you have 13 objects, how do you know how much apart they are in terms of percentage? And the rule of threes tells us that um, when you need to divide the total number here, sorry, the number of the object you're looking at by the total number in order to find that percentage. And this is a standard thing we do when we want to do what's called normalize the result. So if the count is 400 and the ID is, let's say, 200 of the particular clone that the formula is affecting at that point, that means that it will be at the 50th percentile, right? It will have a value of 0.5. And that is why we use ID divided by count to find that value for each and every one of these things. Then it adds T, which is coming from here, and that's the animation. The T is the time, and there's one more component called delta, a dt. So if I move this, I can offset it. You can see we get this offset here. So we can do a secondary control of the time, but the t parameter is just something that represents how much time is going by. Let's move on. So this is plus t, and it adds that value because we're growing in time. Then it multiplies it by f, which is the frequency, right? I think the higher you do this, it's going to go faster. The lower you do it, it's going to go, well, it goes negative now. So frequency 0 should not move, but then you add a bit and you can see slowly starting to move. Let's go 0.1. So this is just the frequency by which the repetition of the time is going to occur. So now we go to the 360. This is just to get the sign of it helps with math when we use 360. So what's happening here is that the movement, and you will say, but what kind of movement? Well, you go to the formula effector and you see that it's affecting the position and the scale. So let's get rid of the scale. Now you're seeing it's affecting the X. Let's remove the X and put this to 100%, right? So the formula effector, just like all the effectors, I can increase this to as much as I want because it's going to be looping, has over here a strength. Look at this strength here. And for any effector, when you reduce the strength, you reduce the application of these values here on whatever object, on whatever you're doing, with a plane effector, with all that. The formula effector essentially returns whatever this formula evaluates as a number and uses it as a strength. And it can be bigger than 1, it can be smaller than 1. Usually it's from 0 to 1. Now, why could this be quite useful? Because you don't need to do trigonometry and all that. You can say ID equals 1. And you can see that the clone, so I can remove my text and remove this, go to the formula and say 100 centimeters. The formula is telling the clone with ID 1, select the cloner, go to transform, bring up the index, and you'll see that that is number 1. There you go, clear as day. So you can do all sorts of things. Like I was asked a question a couple of weeks ago about how to move things by index, and thankfully, Dr. Sassy, I totally missed it, and Dr. Sassy showed me a solution by using the formula ID. I think I showed it last week. So you can just select the ID of any clone and make that go those 100 centimeters you want. Maybe you want to do something like if ID is smaller than 15. So now we get the first 14 clones. So by playing around with these formulas, you can actually do more structured animation by targeting specific clones or moving them in a certain direction. Now, if you're wondering what kind of math we're going to do here, you can right-click and go to Show Help. And this will give you to the formula page. And there's this little obscure paragraph. A list with possible formulas can be found here. And you click on that, and you have the mathematical operations with some examples. And it tells you what everything is. You can do addition, subtraction. It's got some examples, the parentheses stuff, pi, and all that. You can use units. You can use logical operations like I did, greater than, less than, modulo. So the modulo would be this. Let me copy this. Let's go close this, put the modulo here, because modulo is an interesting one. Modulo, I'm going to put ID, modulo, ID equals modulo 2. So ID equals, let's see if this is going to work. Yeah, what am I doing wrong here? Because it is taking 2 ID. Ah, why am I messing this up now? It's not my day. Okay, ID equals. Do I need an ID here? I've done it a million times, just not working for me now. But in any case, I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll do a quick tip or something like that. So forgive me. It's just before the holidays. But you can do all sorts of mathematical operations that allow you to do all these fancy things. I wanted to pull up every second one. I need to think about this. So ID equals modulo. I need to do this. Wait a minute. Modulo ID semicolon 4. Is this the correct one? Ha! I told you I'll find it. I just need to clear my mind sometimes. So every 4 or every 2 or every 3, let's put an odd number. So this, if you don't know what modulo is, go to my YouTube channel, YouTube / at Noseman, not Noseman GR, but at Noseman. And I did a special video on the modulo, what it means. So you'll get a better understanding. But here, what I'm doing is that I can go and raise every second, every third, every whatever I want. And you can create these staggered things and then whatnot. If you go to the parameter and you plan it properly, because my cube is 10, you can create let me get rid of those IDs. Because, look at that. You can create interesting stuff that is based on patterns. So that is the general overview. You need to have a slight understanding of various parameters. You can use positions. You can use anything you want. Yeah. PX. Look at that. It's just moving. Let's go here and put this at 1. Just PX will take the position of each clone in the X. And as the position becomes bigger, it will add a different height to each clone. And again, that's sort of a very quick summation of this. Okay, I hope, Lisa, I didn't confuse you more than help you. So let's go question 3 here. I didn't read it yet. Also, there's a best practice for reducing the particle cache. Currently, the largest one is around 200 bytes. Yeah, in terms of particles, I mean, I don't know what exactly you're making. So let's just go to particles emitters. And if you want to go here and cache them, if you go to the cache export settings, any parameters you're not using, any of these of the properties, just turn them off. From that point onwards, the cache is going to be relative to the size and the number of particles you're using and the value of the number of properties you're adding. So anything you don't require here, it's good to go and delete it from that list when you are caching. That's my advice, because everything else is, I guess it's standard. You can't do anything about that. Okay. Here's one. Hello, Mr. Steve. How can I change the display of cloner? You can't. Sorry, that was a short one. You can't. It is what it is. Maybe you can change some colors if you go to the preferences and look at the color schemes, but I've never done that. I just try to fight what I see in my screen. Okay. Kit Kats. Someone. I want to create a chocolate bar like Kit Kat and break it with Voronoi fracture. However, the problem is that I can't add more than 2 layers and materials to the Voronoi fracture. I don't know what you mean by you can't add more than 2 layers and materials to the Voronoi fracture. Yeah, if you want to use the forum to submit some sort of link to an image or something like that, yeah, yeah, and if you have a simplified scene or something like that, I'd like to take a look at this. Sorry. Okay. Let's see the thickness of this. Someone, I can't control the thickness of chocolate. Yeah, this is a bit too much for a 1 hour show showing tips. And something I need to remind everyone is that although we do our best to show as much as possible, full setups is neither the scope of this show. This is more, how does this generally work? How does that, or a simple setup? A multi-chocolate Kit Kat that breaks is the equivalent of, doing the project. There are 10,000 ways of doing it, depending on if you want to animate it, how do you want to animate it, if you want simulation, how much is going to work, and all that kind of stuff. So there's no specific answer. We can spend hours or days on doing permutations on this. So I'm sorry that I can't address these sort of complex questions. Just to give you an idea, I had a request from a training customer a while ago about a very complex sort of simulation setup, similar to how do I create chocolate in 2 layers and all that. But it was about simulation. I had to prepare for 4 days to provide a 90-minute lesson. So it's things can get a bit more complicated, and it all depends on exactly what you want to do. So sorry about that. Let's see. What does this say here? Is it possible to set FBX-Export settings to account for smoothing groups? I have no idea. I do not know. Sorry. Okay. Dean, we got the answer. There we go. But Dean, Dean was the first to reply. Okay, whatever. A quick 3-point light setup. Just put 3 lights. One sort of 45 degrees on the side, one on the back, one on the front. There's no particular way. If you just look at the any diagram of a 3-point lighting, the only tip I am going to give you here is that although it's 3-point lighting is a good start, but it's definitely not a full lighting solution. So what I generally like to do is when I create a Redshift light, I go and add a target tag, and I either link it to a null or to the object I'm viewing here. So now I can just drag this here, put it on one side, then make it directly a copy in here, and then go over here and move it over here, and then create another one, put it in the back. And then it has to do with the camera point of view. Where are you viewing this from? How intense it's going to be, and stuff like that. But depending on what you're doing, this would be a 3-point light setup. where you get your rim light, or as it's called, hair light, which is usually brighter than the other light, so you can get a nice little halo around your object. But the I think, right, here's my advice. You can start with this, but watch a few classic black and white movies. Black and white movies had the magic where the color was absent, so everything works in a tonal way. And there's some amazing directors out there, even contemporary directors, that have been using black and white stock, or they converted the films to black and white. Hitchcock is a very good example, and all that. But generally, for lighting and stuff like that, my general advice is to look at what other people are doing, whether it's paintings, whether it's photography, cinematography, and all that. And if you want to learn about lighting, just about the shapes, because lighting always has a correlation with colors as well. Um, Watch non-colored footage, black and white, and better if you look at original black and white, because that only works based on contrast and brightness. So yeah, this will be a three light setup. Okay. Let me see here. What do we have? Yeah, it was a Pythagorean, and it was showing you how to make those scissor um, things. I have done, I don't know if it's a tutorial, but I have done presentations or a show where I showed how, I think it was in the, can you look up the mechanical rigging? I think the series with mechanical rigging, I did a setup. Now, yeah, the bending and the stretching and all that, that again, it's a too complex. It depends what you want to do. You can do it with deformers, you can do it with potentially cloth without being absolutely sure, but it's these little details. First, you need to figure out the rig itself, which is going to be a typical scissors rig, adapt it to work the way you want it, and then you need to put the objects and define and decide how you want this to work. It's not going to be very easy if you want it to be realistic, like nothing that it has sort of organic motion and all that. All these things need a lot of work, but yeah, it's a bit too much to put that um, together right now. Let's see, Lisa, you're welcome. Let's see, and this you the individual pieces. Let me see if I can understand the question by Pixel Wolf. Is there a way to control Voronoi fragments by Pyro Advection? No, but there's always a but. No, but let's, I don't know, let's try something. A very, very general thing. So let me think about this. Let me think about this. Let's say we have Voronoi fracture here. Let's get this, and let's put a Voronoi fracture to this. Now, Voronoi fracture in the sources, we can drag all sorts of objects, all sorts of objects. We can't drag anything that's not point based, so only point objects, and we can even stack them together. So let me get rid of this. So let me think, what can we do? What can we create using advecting smoke? So let's try one thing. I'm not sure it's going to work, but I'm going to get a plane and make this 100 and 100. In this plane, I'm going to put a vertex map. Vertex map. Let's make this a bit smaller. Let me turn off the cube and this for a second. Let's go and add a little Pyro object. Do I have something ready, cached? Let me think. Allow me to check. Oh, I'm gonna do it from scratch, so you know how to do that. General technique. Right click, go to simulation, and create a Pyro emitter. It's going to emit fire and smoke. It's going to come up. Excellent. Good. Now, what I want to do here is see if I can read the density data. So go to the Pyro output, and I only want to output density. So when I say output is bring it from the GPU while I'm simulating. So I'm bringing in a volume object here. Now, before I do that, let me show you something about volumes. Let's say I have a sphere. Let me just rewind that. I'm going to create a sphere, and I put it under a volume builder and set this to fog, and go here and set it to maximum voxel fall off. So it's going to create a little gradient sphere here where the smoke is denser on the inside and less dense on the outside. Okay. So if I take this volume builder, I'm just going to make it invisible so it's not impeding, and drag it in my field list and read it as a volume object. That volumetric data, it does get propagated through my object, which means that because the Pyro is nothing more than a fog, I can take the Pyro output, which is now only the density. I can get the temperature or whatever I want and put it here. I'm just going to replace this. Let's see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? And let me turn this off. And of course, you have to go to the simulation, Pyro, all the way down to draw and turn it off. There you go. So now we have a slice of our density that's defining the value of our vertex map, which is interesting on its own. You can change this to be the temperature, for example, and create something totally different. But overall, you can do those things. Now, let's see how we can use this. I've never tried to put this in here. It's not going to work. It's not a point object. But can I create a point object? Okay. Let me think. So the Voronoi fracture requires a point or not. So we don't need values. What I can do here, maybe, is instead of a vertex map, I can go and add a point selection. Let's delete the vertex map. In the point selection, I'm going to go fields, and I'm going to add this. Fantastic. So this is not editable. It doesn't matter in this case. It will use the selections. We just can't see them. But what can we do here? Maybe I can use a matrix object. Maybe I can use a matrix object. And maybe I can use a plane effector on the matrix object that makes everything invisible. So invisible. And in this plane effector, I'm going to drag. Actually, I could drag this directly here. See what this is going to do. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. I am getting clones where I'm getting density. So let's play around with this a bit. Let's get rid of the color. And let's see if I can bias this a bit to make it generate more of these. Although the matrix, I mean, we have 40 and 40 here. Maybe I can make more or make this a bit smaller. So let me just turn off this, bring these together at, let's say, 5 and 5 and 5, and make them 3 so I can see them a bit better. So now I'm going to turn this on, and I'm generating matrices based on that density. If you want to change the values that come here, you could add a curve, sort of bring more in. So we're just changing the contrast of the data here. So here's my density that's coming in. And now let me do something. I'm going to go and save it because I like this setup. I'm going to call it Pyro to Voronoi. Okay, Pyro to Voronoi. I've saved it. Let's go to the Voronoi object now, because a matrix can be used as an input. Drag a matrix here, rewind, save, press play, and there you go. You have a Voronoi. Now, it's too regular and all that. You can always go to your matrix and add some randomization or something like that. But this is literally reading the density, creating some points matrices and all that, and using that to split the Voronoi. So depending on what you're trying to do, this would be sort of the approach. There could be other ways that are a bit more random, but yeah, something like this. Of course, there could be another 15,000 ways of doing it. Okay. Let's see. Let me look at these questions. When I have questions, I'm going to pull up my face. Let's see what this is. When I create material and add color from particles through use a color node, there are 4 different groups. How do I take color from each group and create different shader for each? Color from each group, you'll just apply a different material to each. Although, let me think. I think you can read the custom attributes. All right, let's take a look at this. Could be interesting. It's a bit more advanced, but it's an interesting thing. So let's go. Let's just go to the Redshift shader here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create in the particles. Close this. I'm going to go and add a custom property. And I'm going to call it float. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it RS. No, I'm going to call it part prop 01, just for fun. If you get a user data of type float, so scalar, you should find it in particles. Let me think about this. Particle property 01, but I need to assign it to particles. Let's make sure that it exists on the particles, because there are no particles here. Let's make sure. I'm going to go and what I'm going to do is copy this. So I've created this custom attribute, which is a type float, and I want to assign it to the particles. The easiest way to do that is to go to the modifiers math, or any of the other modifiers, and target the custom property, which you will find it here. And I'm going to use a source. Could be a constant, could be a value. It could be a random with a minimum value of 0 and a maximum value of 4. And let's press play to create these. Now, I want to see if this is going to appear somewhere. So it is a float. There you go. Standard particles, which is the group where the new particles are hosted, has a part prop. So if I make this an integer, let's change this a bit. Let's go and make it an integer. And let's go to the math and prop random 0 to 4. Let's see if we can use this. I'm not sure we can, but let's say we can use this. Let's go to the particle group. Let's make my particles bigger so we can see the particles, or not. I can just make them larger. Go to render tags, Redshift, and set this to optimize spheres. So when I assign a material there, it will be applied, and I'm going to scale it by 5. And let's see what we have right here. We should have these large particles. There we go. So rewind, press play. Good. We have these particles here. Experimentation time. Put this here. And what I'm going to do is use a switch node. You can use a shader switch, and you can select it. So I need to normalize this from 0 to 1. Oh, is it 0, 1, 2, 3? I think it's 0, 1, 2, 3. Shader selector. I'm just going to put some colors. You can add different materials here. So let's go to do this red. Do this here green. do this blue, right, and do this, I don't know, orange or yellow or something like that. Yellow. There we go. So I've applied this. I can go to out color, put it here. And I think now by advancing by 1, I'm changing the colors. It may be the case that if you put this here, that's an interesting one. Let me bring up my Redshift. Let me bring up my Redshift because I was expecting this to work, although I haven't thought about it too much, as you well know. I need to go to Redshift, and bring up the render view. Good. I'm just going to dock it for a second. And let me see what potential mistake I did. So it's loading the particles. I'm getting my part prop 01 in the shader switch. I've assigned it here. Turn this off so I can turn this on. And I would expect this to give me, okay, let me see what I may have done here. Oh, maximum value. Why did I think I set it to 4? Okay. I thought I turned it to 4. Assertion failed. Okay, I do not know what this is. So this seems to be failing, which means I need to make sure I'm going to save it. So let me quickly save it. Custom to Redshift. Okay, and what I should do now is quit Synopody and run it again, just in case something happened. And we are approaching the end of the show, but I'm gonna march on. A lot of questions coming in. Sorry, I'm getting sucked into these rabbit holes, but I love these questions and these sort of challenges that open up the potential for interesting techniques. Let me just go to my folder and bring the custom to Redshift in here. Ooh, okay. So that file broke. That's interesting. That's interesting. That is something I need to investigate because, yeah, sorry for that. Okay. Yeah, that, yeah, it pooped out, as they say. So I'm going to address this again. The question, thank you very much, Zemek. But that should be the way it works. Save your file, by the way. Don't. All right. Let's see how many more questions we can get. Yeah, and the answer for this is no, you can't, unfortunately. You cannot change them. Let's see. Well, JavaScript is generally good. Any knowledge of programming is good. For After Effects, of course, JavaScript, but Python in general is another language everyone needs to know if you're interested in programmatic concepts and stuff like that. But despite the whatever programming language or scripting expressions and all that, the understanding of how syntax works within expressions, programming languages, parentheses, all that kind of stuff, loops, trigonometry and all that, as it applies to programming in general, in my view, is a life skill that every 3D artist needs to have some sort of idea. It will allow you to solve certain problems in certain situations, and it will give you a huge boost in your ability to execute things or circumvent various issues with any kind of software you use. Okay. Have you made any realistic raw meat materials? I haven't, but it's not only the material, the little bumps and all that. Maybe you find something if you look at photogrammetry libraries. That's what I would look, because if you want something, in order to avoid the uncanny valley when you're doing realistic stuff that people watch regularly, see regularly. You go to the butcher's or you go to a restaurant or something like that, and these are things that our brain is accustomed to seeing. The same with fruit, vegetables, or anything that's real, humans, animals, and so forth. And if something ever so slightly is off, the brain goes totally bonkers and creates a sense of disgust. So photogrammetry could be the way to do that, but I haven't made anything like that. Let's see. Hello from Toronto, Blake. Hello. How's the weather down there in the tropics? Okay. Let me see a couple more questions I'm going to grab. I wanted to say a couple of more questions, and I said a custom of whatever. Okay. What is this? Have you tried out the Redshift chat GPT? Pretty neat way of speaking. No, I speak to a lot of people, including yourselves, and hopefully no one is AI here. I have very strong opinions on AI. I'm going to leave it at that. From my tone, I hope you understand. Okay, let's try this one. Mate, if I have a dense plane object and then use the Poke Polygon tool and its polygons, what is the fastest way to select only the center points? I was under the impression that that is what it does. I mean, let's try it. This is a very good question. So you have the plane, you have your polygons, you make it editable. So let's see, if I go to polygon mode and poke polygons, go to points mode, it doesn't give me anything. So let me see if another way works. If I select all the polygons and do a poke, so here's my poke. If I go to points, again, it doesn't give me anything. But let's try this one, right? I'm going to try this one. I'm going to go to points mode before I poke, and I'm going to select all the points. I'm going to go to polygon mode, or I can even poke here. I can poke my polygons, and I can invert the selection. So that will be the way. So select all your points, do a poke polygons, and then go to select and invert selection. And there you go. This is what you have. Boink. I hope I saved you, 70 hours of work, and you can put a picture of me next to your computer. Okay. Hope that works for you, Mate. Thompson X, 11:37. Were you late? I'm reading messages that were posted 45 minutes ago. What happened to me? Um, Let me move on. Thompson X. That's actually quite accurate. I have a 2 terabyte SSD for caches. 2 terabyte only? Yeah, you need to have. So if you can afford an M.2 drive, 4 terabytes, just for caches, a very fast one, go get it. That is my suggestion. Don't store anything. If you can go for speed over quality, just use them for temporary caches, and then whatever you need to do, just put them in a backup. But yeah, caches can grow, especially if you go particles is not issue. If you go VDBs with tight, dense grids, ooh, that's every time you make your voxel half the size, you make the size 8 times bigger, right? Don't forget about that. It's like cutting a cube in half twice. No, it's not. It's 3 times. It's 2 in the power of 3. 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 4 is 8. I wish I didn't mess. I hope I didn't mess that one up. Okay, let's go. Let's see. Oh, These are the nice little interesting questions. How may I change 3 inputs at the same time like X, Y, Z? That's a very good question, Steve. And there is a way to do it. So if you're here and you drag this, you change one at a time, all right? Now, what you could do is you can indicate which ones you want to change at the same time. So you can click on the P and it will select X, Y, and Z, or you can click on the X and then the Y and select X, Y, or this and then shift this, control this to select them. So let's go for all 3. If you press Control or Command on your keyboard and you drag, you change all 3 values. And this applies to anything that has tied together vectors and so forth. So select everything, press Control, and it will change the same value. Not only with dragging, you can actually do that if you select all 3 and you type here 100. If you press Control and then Enter, it makes everything 100. So that's a shortcut of doing all the numbers. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Yes, this is my usual comedy. What are your computer specs? RAM, GPU, CPU seem very smooth. So I was lucky. I have a very good relationship with Dell. And when I was a freelancer, I was contracted with Maxon. They offered me at that time a workstation. And that was 5 years ago, maybe 6, but I think it was 5 years ago. And they sent me this absolute gem of a workstation, which is called, I need to look at it, Precision 3840. Now, specs. I have an RTX 5000 with 16 gigs of RAM, which is slightly slower than a 2090, right? Not a 3090, not a 4090. It's slightly slower than a 2090, but it's rock solid and it makes no noise. I have some sort of Xeon processor with 16 cores, and I think I have 64 gigabytes of RAM and a lot of disk space. I've added more, and Maxon provided me with more space as well. But it's amazing. It's not even considered a competent gaming computer in terms of performance, right? A 4090 would easily be maybe 4 times as fast, but it's not the smoothness. Cinema 4D tends to be very good and work quite well with a lot of older hardware. So if you get a decent modern PC with something even not high end, maybe you can get a 4070 or 4080. I don't even know if that exists. You will have an excellent experience. For me, the most important thing is the GPU RAM that is at 16 gigabytes and allows me to do a bit more larger simulations and stuff like that. But it doesn't compare at all to I think it's 24 gigabytes that the 4090s have, and so forth. Okay. Let's see. The chat keeps popping up and down, so I'm losing what I'm doing. All right, what time is it? Oh, it's 20 past. Okay, I'm going to try this one. What I'm going to do is, this is going to be, sorry for everyone, the last question. So, Switch Media Tube, welcome back. Is there a way to stop through EDIK rigs, like the recent one, from flipping axes? I have my end goal rotating around a circular spline, certain angle, whole thing flips. Let's find out. I'm going to use my own rig because I can't rig the whole thing up. Again, I need to find it. So give me a second. Should be here. It should be here. And I'm going to find, there you go, final kinematic. I think this is it. I can't believe I found this so fast. Oh, this was part of an animation I did for the robot, and it's painting particles. Anyway, let me get rid of the particles. It's a bit gimmicky. Excellent. So it's moving. Let me get rid of the animation. So let's go here. My animation is aligned to spline, and the spline was Oh, I've hidden everything. That's why I couldn't see. I hide things so they look a bit better. The sky, spline mask, the gravity, and all that. There you go. Here's my robot. Here is this. And let's see what happens because, yeah, it's a could. So let me. You mean this flip here. Okay. There you go. So a flip may occur. So what I would suggest is we go here and we add a pole. And this is a pole. Let's try now with a pole. Flips. Maybe I need to pull the pole up. Try again. Oh, it flips the other way. So I need to add another pole. So let's get rid of this and find out how we can make this not flip. Number one, when and where does it flip? What flips? And what flips here is the base, right? The main part, that green part. So if I find a way to stabilize that, hopefully without any lag, I may get this to work. So I need to make sure that this joint here, let me see, that joint there, points somewhere meaningful. Okay, we're going to have some feedback, but I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. Otherwise, I'm going to escalate this because it's a very good question. I'm going to start with a target tag. And I'm going to make a null here. Feedback loop incoming. Move the null that way. Let me make sure this is pointing this. My axes here. Have I closed everything up? Axes and all that? Nope. So why can I not see my axes? What am I doing here? Sorry about that. I can't find my axes. Have I turned it off? I think it was because I had turned this off. The axes is on. Axes on. Anyhow, where's this heading? So I'm going to put it on the null in here. Now, again, this is going to cause a feedback loop. As you can see, it's going to make things go rather crazy. So let me pull this on the other side. There we go. That's where it should be. This could be terribly wrong again, but that never stopped us from moving on. Right, let's see. So it does flip around because, of course, it's going to flip around. What am I expecting? This is something I need to think about. It could be a setting. Yeah, why did I do that? That's going to definitely create a feedback loop. That was silly of me to do that. This is something I want to look at, unless add poll. Add poll. Wait a minute. But yeah, the poll is going to stay there. Let me see here. So it does flip around. Maybe the poll needs, someone is going to, twist goes that way, not auto, plus Z. Yeah, I need to look at this. This is an interesting, it's interesting. I have to admit, it's an interesting. Yep, that is something I need to check out. Thanks for the question. I need to write that down. Give me a second before we close the show. IK robot flip. I need to put that down. In any case, yeah, I got carried away today. I apologize for that. I'm trying to show my face and I can't. Let's see if we can quickly go through a couple of things. Share aha moments, some experience with any features of cinema 4D when time allows. Yeah, I've been having aha moments since the late 90s, I would assume. So it's been a while. It's been a while. Anyway, yes, I'm looking at the bunch of questions. There's quite a few over here. But I would like to thank you very much for being part of this community, and you dedicate your time to hang out with us here, and especially me. I am how I am, and yeah, asking your questions, which always feed tutorials and quick tips, and gives us an opportunity, like this thing with a kinematic. I never thought about spinning it 360 degrees, so that is a good thing. And I want to see if it's a button or two or something like that. But if it wasn't for your questions, we would have much less content and much less interesting content. So, if anything, you take back from 2024, uh, may that be a very big thank you. I hope you'll enjoy the festive season wherever you are and however you may celebrate it. And yeah, Happy New Year to everyone. And see you in a year's time. In a year's time. So now I need to find this is a typical closer here, where I need to go to this button and find what I need to press to close the stream. Ah, there it is. Love you, everyone. Bye bye.